All right, welcome to the August 2nd class board meeting 2021. I think we've got, it looks like 9 people present. And I'm going to try to do limited talking so you don't get too much feedback and echo throughout this meeting, because I know it's going to be annoying. Even though we're scheduled to go until 3, again, we do not have enough of an agenda to take us that long. So hopefully we can get things wrapped up in about an hour, unless we find that our discussions get lively and we need to continue, and that's always a good thing. So we're going to start, now that we've got recording here. Has everyone got their agenda that was sent last week?
Yes, thank you.
You got the financial reports also?
Yes.
Any questions on the financial reports? We can go through this very quickly here. We've had, since January, again, we'll talk about the membership fees that have come in, our revenue. And if you hear me kind of pausing here, it's because I'm hearing my own echo. It's tough to talk and listen that way. But a total income of $560.43. All of that based on membership, with year-to-date expenses of $1,780.60. And a large portion of that is going to Kate as our web contractor, media person. It's more than just web design at this point. And then we've got some Zoom invoices that I have gotten reimbursed for. Pretty straightforward.
Question, if I may, on membership. I see we have some larger membership. Is that from organizations or is that donations?
Cindy, I think that's a combination of both.
Okay.
We've had a couple. When we see the larger, like 144, that could be multiple memberships because that was just for the month that's being shown there.
Okay.
It may have been the one time that Kathleen had made a deposit.
Okay.
But I think we've had, Kate, tell me if I'm wrong, have we had one corporate membership this year?
I believe so. Let me pull up the list. And Scott, one thing that may help you, try turning down the volume on your laptop and just hearing us through your phone. That may solve your echoing issue and make it a more pleasant experience for you. It appears we have an organizational membership for the Church of St. Pius, for the Lundgren Realty Group, and for the Mueller Memorial.
Excellent.
So those are the 3 organizations that we have.
Thank you.
And is this the time to talk about sending the county a bill for the stuff money we can donate?
Ooh, that'd be
I
fabulous.
think this would be a perfect time.
All right, so I need an invoice from class, and I think that's all I might need 501c3. I don't think so. But I think I just need an invoice from class for the Kate services.
And Julia, refresh my memory. What should that invoice be for? How should that be worded? Who should it be put to? You want to send that to me in email?
It just needs to be, hey, this is the expense that we incurred. So it's sort of a receipt.
Okay.
I can see if I can. No, just what we're giving you for 300.
For 300, okay.
Yep.
I've got an invoice template that I can use, and I usually attach a tax document with that too. I think we needed to do that for one of the memberships from Ramsey, a person with Ramsey County. So
Okay.
I can pull that together.
That would be great.
Why don't I make I'll get that done this week, and I will copy you, Scott, and you too, Kate, because it sounds like you're kind of tracking some of that. Thanks so much. Julia?
Yeah, it's not urgent, but we might as well get it done
Sure.
now. I mean, I
Okay.
don't need to spend it till the end of the year, but let's just get it done.
Thank you.
Sure. And that Ramsey, Cindy, that Ramsey County, I think was just for a recent membership that came through that we've just gotten taken care of, and we have
Excellent.
received payment from them.
Good, okay.
Yep. Kate is getting them set up on a membership page.
Super.
All right, good. And then financially, Cindy, you and I should talk post-meeting too about steps for our taxes.
Yes. And the
We'll get that all
banking as
wrapped up.
well.
Yeah. Yep. Okay, any other questions on financials so far here? As we take a look at our budgets, you know, budget is kind of a little bit out the window, just simply because of this having been set up prior to COVID, I believe, or during COVID season. So we've got a little bit more on the marketing side of things, but everything else is on the not spend side of things. So we're getting ourselves, we were budgeted for about 1,400 at this point, and year to date we're at 1,780. So a little more revenue to come in, and we'll just be balancing that budget very quickly here. It's not a shock, or it shouldn't be a shock, and it's not a concern of mine based on, you know, we're under 2,000 here. So being within $300 of budget at this stage of the game, I think is something that we're okay with. Any comments regarding that?
Sounds good, Scott.
All right. Moving on. If there's nothing more on the financials. Let's see, President-elect, would you like to have any comments? Oh, wait, there is no President-elect. Thank you very much. I'm not seeing many smiles here. Are we having any humor today? Anybody hearing me? All right. A serious Monday, I guess. There is
Put
John.
one in
Good.
chat. There you go.
I'm smiling.
There we go. Yeah, we're still in the hunt, still in search. So we have some need as we're kind of looking at the tail end in the next couple of months, tail end of our year, to see what can happen with some more officers. So as we look at those positions to be filled, President-elect, treasurer, and possibly others. So Chris, right now, I think Kate has stepped in as secretary, but you would, I guess we didn't talk as a board. Does that just place Chris as a board member at large by having Kate take over as the secretary position this year due to some of the constraints that Chris had on her or with her schedule?
I'm from a bylaw standpoint, and I'm trying to recollect our conversation with Chris a while back. I know she's interested, but as you mentioned, other things on her plate right now. So standard board member, unless, in fact, let's just ask the question, is anybody interested in any of our open officer positions? Or has everybody already been asked?
Well, we did vote Kate in as secretary as we
Right.
had that conversation last
Right.
time with
I do
Chris.
remember that, yeah.
Does everybody concur on that conversation that we had talked about?
Yes.
All right, good. Chris, anything you'd like to add that we
No,
should know?
No, I feel bad that I don't have more time to commit, but as Kate knows, I get quite maxed out as it is. So I'm sorry about that.
That's okay,
Yeah.
certainly understandable.
Thank you.
Yeah, we do. We do. And it doesn't appear that Lynn is present today. There wasn't a dial-in call, so I don't know if she has anything to
The
add
notes
to
that I
today's meeting.
The notes that I put into the board meeting, Lynn did say she was unable to attend today. But she had shared with our team about the Vadnais Heights Area Community Foundation grant deadline. That is August 31st. And she also said that she's managing the mailbox at City Hall and received a check for another new member for the Ramsey County Veteran Services. So that was what she had to share with us prior to the meeting. And
I'm sorry, Kate, when you and I talked on Friday, I didn't realize she wasn't going to be able to attend. Was that in that email as well?
yes, it
It was,
was.
okay.
It was a
Thank you.
busy day. It was laptop issues, so very
Okay.
understandable to have missed that. I also just this may not be under Lynn's section, but an email came in today from Sheila Kelly that she is unable to attend the meeting and must resign from the board. She shared that she's having back surgery and will be out of work for at least 6 weeks. So she sent that at about 10:45 this morning, and I haven't heard anything else, but Scott, I wanted to at least share that while we were talking about people who were not here at this point.
Okay.
Have we heard anything from Tara?
Tara's on the call.
Oh,
Hi.
good. Hi, Tara.
As many of you know, I've been the president-elect president and past president at some point during class's life. And currently my role is as president and CEO of Northeast Youth and Family Services. And so I have a very tangential link to older adult services at this point. So hopefully trying to continue to serve out my term, at least this calendar year, and then hope to see you all have many people join your ranks to keep the good work going. But if we're looking to recruit some folks, I mean, we can talk offline and see if there's anybody in my little Rolodex that we haven't reached out to, but that's kind of where I'm at.
That would be good. One question I was wondering about, since we have gone to Zoom and every other month, does anybody feel like maybe this has slowed down interest or engagement or anything? I know we've all been very busy and our jobs and our lives have changed over the past year, but I'm just wondering if that has anything to do with it.
John?
Yeah, I think it's a 90% is that we're, because of energy and the pandemic, not able to do the kind of outreach events that we had been, although I think as well that and we talked last time we talked about this, the virtual networking is great and is successful, and I think without that we'd be totally dissolving.
That's a good point, John.
but it's I know that so my boss is on the she's the board chair for the National Coalition for the Homeless, and so she's got this very nationwide view, and she's just throwing up her hands about the Delta variant, and not throwing up her hands, she's exasperated, and like we're all of the MICA fall bus tours are all going to be virtual again. And I'm just going to say, if we had a more vaccinated America, that we'd probably be further along, and we aren't. So there we have it. So yeah, I think that it's gonna be when we can do Market Fest and one education and one outreach and one age-friendly gathering a year, then we'll be picking up again.
Good, thanks for sharing that, John.
Yeah, and I would concur with that. And I think as we take a look at just the attendance on our board meeting calls, you know, we've got 10 people on today, and I don't think that we had 10 people every time in some of our board meetings in the past when we were live. And because we do have a few new board members who are not just in the backyard here, I'm just thankful that we can still have this kind of call and have them attend. And I think from an efficiency standpoint, that has worked for now. I love live meetings. I think they're great. It's good to have that banter and that connection, but until we get safely to that, I'm not certain it's affecting maybe our board meetings, but it certainly could be affecting maybe an awareness level out there, Cindy.
Okay. Okay.
So, all right, moving on here, we're going to let Kate take over a little bit. We've had what would you say, Kate, a pretty good busy month and a half of some different things that we've been working on here to see how we can enhance membership without it becoming too much time spent, and also not too involved from a board standpoint. And we can talk about one of those ideas that we had and we're just implementing right now. But I'll hand it over to you, Kate, just to talk
Sure.
a little bit about paying members, non-paying, and some different website updates.
So my apologies. This is the joys of being at home and my dog likes attention. So I would say we've actually seen a bit of an increase in terms of interest because of what we've been able to do on the website. And the most recent thing that we've built is an idea that Scott had where, oh, and thank you for liking Zoom dogs. Scott's idea was being able to showcase events without talking about people's car wash or one-off things. And so this is a way for people to share kind of a social media opportunity and so forth about their organization. And so we've launched it officially. So for those who responded to the Survey Monkey that we sent out with that information, on the website, if you go to the networking and members page, you will notice that there's a button on each members section that if they've provided a link to us, it will go to the page of their choosing. That might be their Twitter, that might be their Facebook. Some organizations don't have anything beyond that. I can speak for my website that I don't have, I'm not doing Facebook or anything like that. So I just direct it to a different area of my website. So that way it's more specific. And then for those members who haven't responded, we simply just have it as their website in general that it takes you to. So these are things that we're trying to do to kind of show an additional interest. This is something that doesn't take a lot of work on classes' part. If we're having them provide us once a year, if something has changed, it is completely on the responsibility of the organization to provide us the information that they want to advertise, but it does increase the visibility for our members. We haven't sent it out to non-members at this point, but it would be something that I think that Scott and I had planned to roll out once we had a final, that was kind of part of our steps of what we were discussing to build forward. And I would say that we also, with the membership drive, I'm not really sure, Scott, what we were referring to with the membership drive specifically in the notes here.
It was more that we had wrapped it up, and where did we stand with that drive? How many members that we had come aboard this year, and where are we at just with that count?
Yes. And I would also say that in terms of like posting events and resources, as we've received requests, Scott has been able to, if it seems more advertisement based, he says you can become a member and you can share this stuff. If it's general good information, for example, there's an event coming up in October that was focused on dementia friendly, that actually Mary Mangle, a previous member, shared with me, that we have that on our, sure. Let me see if I can share screen.
I think I enabled that.
So right here, as you can see, the Becoming Dementia Friendly 2021 Community Summit was added on here. And just as a general rule of thumb, when we have quarterly networking meetings, these are placed on here with our Zoom links, so that way people can immediately come in and join. If we have other events that are in the realm of class, that's what this section is for, as opposed to in our networking and members, if they have an event, that one is going to be related to their organization. That's where you have to click for their news. So as an example, over here, you click this button, and this links to Elder Voice's Twitter page. So that's how people can find out more about what Elder Voice is doing, because they've decided to go with their Twitter page. Other ones, yeah, go ahead,
Kate,
Scott.
you mind if I interject a second? The reason, I guess a little bit behind that idea, and I'm gonna apologize up front here just to say, we had this discussion last time about, or last board meeting about, you know, what do we do with those who send us things that want to be advertised? And we're kind of caught between a little bit of this rock and the hard place. We don't want to be saying no to people, but we don't want to be saying yes to everything. And so to be careful as to what gets put on our website, right now, this page here is a pretty benign look. We're not advocating for any particular advertisement from our members page here, but if you click to go to their site, it no longer becomes that class memorialized type of thing. It is something where I felt it would keep us in a very safe position where we're not necessarily approving or disapproving of something. And by having it on somebody else's website or Twitter or Facebook, when they leave class, it no longer is on our shoulders, in my opinion. So what I'd like to hear from people is, when we're not meeting often enough and we don't have a complete board and for that matter, a complete even executive team, I found myself maybe just making some decisions that I felt made sense. And I hope you believe that I'm doing it in good faith for class. And if it was anything that I felt needed to have a discussion because it really put class at risk, I would absolutely do that. But the decision just to put an extra button on a member page, we thought would enhance that and also protect class. So any feedback from that would be encouraged.
I think the button's fine.
Yeah, I think even if you had a full-time board and everybody sitting in here, the idea of keeping this up to date, because they're live feeds to people's websites and puts that onus on each of the organizations rather than class, is just smart.
Mm-hmm. I think it looks nice.
Mhm.
Good idea, Scott. Go ahead and take
Go
credit.
ahead. Go ahead, Kate. No, no need. Go ahead, Kate.
So as you can see, we also explain here what the purpose is, so that way people are not surprised when they're using the icon as well. Learn more through our member links. This icon link is where members can also share special information. So we give a complete description to anyone who's looking on this website, what they can expect to find from that. And we also have put in some, it's for information purposes only. They do not represent any endorsements. So we're trying to cover that legalese of making sure that class is not being held responsible for things that other organizations may put on their website. It's not perfect, but it's the language there. So these are a couple of the things that we've recently added to the website and what we're building towards. One idea that Scott and I just started kicking around that I would share with the board was actually an idea from my brilliant husband, where another incentive for members is that maybe we could create a badge that they could put on their website showing that they are a member of class. And so that might be something where we created to show that kind of, you know, networking together. People like the opportunity to show that they're a part of something, part of an elite group. So this is something that is very preliminary right now, but just wanted to share with the board. If you guys have ideas of things as well that just has an enticing interest that we should be considering, but doesn't require a lot of heavy lifting on class's part, but allows members to feel part of the organization and benefit from it, please feel free to share it, because that's the idea behind all this website work, is to enhance the membership until we can actually be back together again.
And Kate, I would add that you and I just simply kind of talked about that idea that your husband had. We haven't, as you said, we haven't gone further. So maybe this is a good time. Pros and cons, and do we wish to vote on something like that? Are we getting too busy for our members? Are we adding too much? Is it never enough? Let's talk.
Is this something that would make sense to talk at the networking group about this, to find if they're interested in it? I think it's a nice idea.
I think that's a good thought, Cindy. And that's coming up in 2 weeks.
Yeah, I think I like the idea of having the memberships having the option to add a class link to their senior services page or whatever makes it sense in their websites. Especially because now we've got a website that I think people would have confidence in linking to, whereas before, I mean, I can say this because I was in charge. It was kind of like we didn't have the capacity to make sure it was super awesome and professional like it looks now. So I think actually offering that up to our members now is something that people would want to go to their IT and say, hey, do you feel comfortable linking this? But I think it would be great promotion for class too, because then people who go to our services will be like, well, what's the Consortia of Lake Area Senior Services? What's this button do? And it allows us to then have this referral group. I think it's a great idea.
And Kate, I also wanted to ask, are you thinking that it would be like an insignia that we would provide so that somebody could add to their signature page? So when they're sending an email, they could show that they're a member of class Consortium of Lake Area Senior Services, or what was your thought on that?
I was thinking it could either be, it would be taking the class logo, but showing that they're a member or networking with other senior service professionals that we could, it's still very early days in my processing and idea stage, but it could be either classes logo with some words describing what it is, like member in good standing. It doesn't need to be that, but actually what I'm thinking is something more of, we're part of this organization of connected professionals. So, and I think John, you had put something in here. First class supporter. Our logo makes a great transition to a blue ribbon group. I like that. Like we're wanting to show that that's kind of where I'm going. I'm not there yet in terms of the creativity part, but that's why I said it was very early stages.
So how about we do this? I think this would be great, a great first project this year. That is, Kate is working on this. I do believe that we're not just going to decide on this particular piece because it's going to go out to many more people than just the board and our inner circle here. That when the idea or a first draft comes through, that let's send it out to the board, let's get input, let's put a deadline to, we need your input by this time, and here's what we're looking for, and try to get this maybe figured out in stage 1, 2, or 3 very quickly. And not necessarily quickly, but have board members weigh in on this so that we work within a little bit of what we had intended to do, and that is have board input on some of these decisions. Does that make sense, all?
Yeah, I think that was something that Tara had developed for us a while back, a process by
Right.
which we would get the input with a date.
Yep. So let's use that for this project, because I think, again, it gets to the point there's going to be some, a different look to it. So what does that look become? And I don't want this to just land necessarily on Kate's lap, my lap. I think to have more input is going to help this become a stronger and powerful piece that can go out there. Because even if, I'm trying to think here, where would we use this if we didn't use it with members? It's really just with members, am I correct? Or would we
Yeah, I
use it
think
elsewhere?
From a brainstorming perspective, just to throw it out there, we could do it as a friend of, if they're not members, but they participate, versus a member. It's continued advertising for class.
Yeah.
I have
Let's
I
try-
have to noodle on it. It's not quite.
Yeah.
It's not fully baked yet. It's a half
I'll let
baked
you
idea.
marinate on that for a little bit, since we've got some good website wrap up that has taken place here. This can be another good next project, and then let's just keep the board informed with sending things out when we're ready for input.
And that kind of leads to the grant writing section of our new business. So and Scott, I didn't mention this before, but we originally had discussed asking for 1,000. I think we can probably ask for 2,000. Doesn't hurt to ask for more. Don't hold back. Definitely ask for more. And if we get less, that's fine. But we were, I'd say, at least a third of the way done on completing the grant application. And this is due on August 31st. So we have good timing. If there's any input on that, and if there are any other grants that we need to submit, please let me know what language I need to provide for that, so that way we can continue to build that. Just because of the nature of how we're keeping class afloat during COVID, it's very much dependent on what our website allows our members to feel connected to, and our quarterly network of meetings being virtual at this point.
So Tara, Cindy, with your experience of some of the grant writing that we've done in the past, when we've asked for something, is it your feeling or is it your opinion that asking for 2,000 on something where we don't really have big projects going on, are we out of line with that?
Well, whether you have a project that, when you're looking at community foundations, and John, you could tell me how you feel about this, but even if I have $100,000 program, I can ask for 5, but if they've decided every group is only going to get $2,500, that's what you're going to get anyway. So I would say if you can legitimately ask for, 2,000 instead of 1,000, let them cut it in half. Don't jump to it ahead of time.
Well, I guess more of my point is, here we've had some things in the past where we've had 4 projects in a given year that we were going to look to do. We had 4 live events. We had committees put together. We had a whole lot of things that were going to be expenses. And now we're not doing any of that, but we're going to be asking for twice as much.
Yeah, well, but here's the thing, John, or here's the thing, Scott, is that everybody in nonprofit world is working twice as hard for half the output because we're working in a COVID situation. So I don't think that you're going to be the only ones asking for the kinds of investments that you're asking, just so we can keep our doors open. Yeah, I would
don't get me wrong. I'm not suggesting we shouldn't. I just want to make certain that as a board, we're on the same page with moving forward with that kind of philosophy.
I think it's always good to ask for more, but I think it's wise to be able to identify what's the rationale, what is it that we're asking for, what do we intend to do with it, which is pretty much how all these grants are written. We do have copies of that information. Kate, I don't know if you've seen it. Scott, I think you have copies of some of that. I can certainly forward that if you're looking for, what we had done in the past.
Have we done a Vadnais Heights Foundation before? Community
Yes,
Foundation?
we did.
Okay. But we did not do that last year, did we?
We did not, no.
Yeah.
So Scott, if you can scroll up, part of what I was trying to provide in this section of describing the project, so the project proposal description and information section, I put together a paragraph explaining what we've done and referencing specifically COVID, because I do think it's had an impact on how our organization runs, and having the virtual meetings because of lockdown. And saying what this specialized area is providing, that, as we all know, during normal times, we may not need it as heavily, but in order to keep the doors open, we are reliant on it. And tying it back to what the mission of class is, which is, community service professionals working together to educate, organize, and advocate, improving the quality of life of seniors. We are doing that in the modified times of COVID. So if we can always just include language that speaks to that, I think that's what will help us with the grants at this point.
I think in addition to this paragraph, we could probably even accentuate our network, our quarterly networking and what we're doing with that too. Because that has become even more of a highlight for us this year than in years past with how we're trying to make these meetings more vibrant and what we're doing within them. So I don't know if that's grant worthy, but I think it's a storyline that's important to tell.
I think it would also be helpful to get some, testimony, comment, quotes, whatever, from people who are attending those networking meetings. I think I have heard in the past that people have found them valuable, and it'd be maybe helpful to have some of that information in the narrative here.
I think this is great timing. Again, since our networking meeting is on the 12th, it gives us time to still get this grant turned in by the end of August with those testimonies added in. So maybe we have that as a topic as part of the networking meeting, Kate,
Yep,
or an
and John,
announcement, I should say.
and two things, John has provided some great language in the chat. And we also, because we sent out surveys after the last meeting, just asking how people felt about the breakout rooms, we do even have some responses from that. So that's something that we can also reference. We have the data, guys, because that's what we have to rely on right now.
Right. All right, good. Any other input or feedback on the grants? White Bear, the Greater White Bear Lake Community Foundation is one that we've had as well. So I think, Cindy, we'll get a copy of what was done for that, and I think
Yes.
we should send that out as well. Put one together.
Okay.
I would say on that Greater White Bear Lake Community Foundation, I think because of the representation at their coffee chats throughout COVID and the transcendent, I want to say, impact of class of all of the groups that were able to participate in food distribution and other kinds of emergency services, to highlight that class as an organization in uniting providers across suburban Ramsey County. It was demonstrated in our ability to react to COVID in a coordinated way, and they'll recognize that because that's very real. That's not overstating what the basis that we've created here made the impact in the community. And so maintaining these, and I would even put that in the VHEDC, because people know the work that was done with all of the organizations here as part of that, a part of those emergency responses to COVID. So just laying claim for that, to say, even though that it wasn't a class specific activity, it was because of the relationships and the collaborations created in a format like class that those kinds of partnerships were formed. And I think that's what we're selling.
That's an excellent point, Tara. And it's funny because just 3 weeks ago, I ran into Carol McFarland out in the community, and we talked about the grant a little bit. And they have a new president that's coming in now. The interim one that was, I'm forgetting her name, I apologize, but she is stepping down from that. So new president's coming in, and Carol says definitely get an application in for class. So
yeah, so I don't think we have to apologize that what we're doing is what we're doing and that it has value. It doesn't have to be, we had 100 people attend a virtual conference on blah, blah, blah. It can be that we're doing this, and this improves the community, and that has worth in and of itself.
you bet.
And Tara, to the point that you made a while back, is we've kept the lights on. I don't think we've missed a quarterly networking meeting throughout COVID. I think we've been able to maintain a structure that provided normalcy for its members, even if through very abnormal times. We just said, that's okay, guys, come in. That welcoming sense, I think, has been a very core reason that we've been able to stay afloat.
And I think it doesn't hurt to remind folks that senior services locked down earlier and harder and faster and more complete than almost any other sector. So it doesn't hurt to let them know the fact that we've continued to meet, even as we're limping along, They don't need to know how much of a struggle it's been, but the idea of, or they do, but to say, you know, what I mean to say is it doesn't hurt to remind other sectors just how isolating COVID was for senior service providers, because literally it was nobody goes into our building at all. So the idea of any kind of continued networking or collaboration only could exist because of this kind of work.
Good point, Tara.
I'm just putting some notes down here. Thank you for that feedback, Tara. That was good.
Yeah. Well, I'm just applauding all the work that you have done to keep the lights on. So this is just me saying thank you and letting the world know the good work you guys have been doing.
Thank you. All right, that kind of brings us to the end of anything that we've got topical for today. Is there any open items that we'd like to bring in for discussion? In fact, Kate, I'm sorry. Did I cut in before you were finished?
You're good, Scott. I think we've covered everything that we've been working on as of late.
Okay.
Just double checking if there were any emails, any pressing emails that needed referencing, but I don't think so. So we should be good.
Yeah, I didn't see anything. So I guess what I would ask now is, as we're, you know, Kate's done a great job getting us up and running on our new website and some of the different ideas that are going into that. Are there different topics that we should be looking at getting more involved with, to whatever extent those may be? Any deficiencies in areas in which any of you are working that class should be aware of and be bringing from a back burner to a front burner that we could be helpful with? And that would be good to know and having those discussions. John?
Yeah, I've got two things on the advocacy point. The first is the Governor's Council on Age-Friendly Minnesota is got 6 openings on it. And so this is a way to get impact at the state level. And so spread the news on that one. And secondly, Micah is going to be doing some Ramsey County voter outreach coming up into the election. And so I know some of some of the lake area is on the other side of the county line. But I am very interested in doing any, if there are, I'm very interested first in if there are open community meetings, what they are, or if there are folks who have access or directions to populations of folks that we could get a civic responsibility vote, make your vote happen meeting, which brings back to the last the plans we had for doing advocacy, which is seniors generally vote pretty well, but encouraging them to get other members of their family to vote was a direction that we were thinking about going on that. So that's between now and November.
Okay. Thank you, John. And then kind of in conjunction with that, Julia, are you still with us here?
I am.
Would you like to add anything in about age-friendly? I know that I've made it to just but a couple of the meetings to be just a listener in for the Ramsey County piece of it. And then this last month, I had been on vacation one of those weeks, so I think I missed a meeting there as well. Any updates?
Well, you and many people missed that meeting through my fault, because I hadn't been in the meeting before, and anyway, doesn't matter. So we are in the first phase of this age-friendly county process, and the first phase is to come up with a current state assessment for the county. And the group has said that there are possibilities about sending out surveys and doing listening sessions. And the group was very clear that we have asked community over and over and over and over again what they want. And we know what community wants, they've told us, and that we are not going to go back to them and say, please give us more information when we haven't really done anything with it. So that's what we're doing right now. We've been gathering various sources of data, community health assessments and things like that. And then we're going to be applying for an intern from the CHI program at the University of Minnesota, which provides graduate students to do some work. And we're going to ask for someone who could compile those into a final report about where the gaps and things like that. So that's where we're at. We are always looking, I mean, we need more people on the committee. The more people there, the better. We have had some subgroups break off, like one group that identified a bunch of these community organizations. It's at this point, we're meeting monthly, and there hasn't been a lot of heavy lifting. I can't promise there won't always be, but at this point there isn't, and we need more voices at the table. I can send out again our introduction blurb continues to evolve, and I can send that out to Scott and have him, if you would like, Scott, distribute that to the members of the committee. Does that kind of summarize where things are?
That's helpful. Thank you. Board, would it be a good idea if we had something from Julia that is county representative for this committee to have that posted on our website?
I think that's a great idea.
Okay, great. And Scott is your representative, and I hope it's you have found it helpful. I have found it helpful to have you there. So yeah, I'll send that summary out. We are looking for people for what we're doing now is the core team is meeting, and the core team is really people that have lived experience or other experience in aging. The core team is not for folks that are interested in aging. There will be lots of opportunities for folks that are interested in aging to be involved as the process evolves. But right now we're looking for folks that can help steer the effort as a team, not individually.
And Julia, for the record, I'm really not interested in aging any more than I already am. So let's keep it out of slow down.
Let me know how that works for you, Scott.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. And I would say to this team here, I don't want this to sound like an excuse or anything, but I'm more than happy to attend those meetings. I'm probably not going to be getting deeply involved, only from the standpoint, Julie, is that in Ramsey County, I've got 7 new circulator loops. So from a transportation standpoint, I am involved, and I am working with community and trying to get these projects off and running where it is services for seniors. That is the extreme busyness that I'm involved with right now. I think that has everything to do with aging in community, and that is my service level to add. But to be able to be part of the committee, to listen without being a big part of the committee for projects other than what I'm doing, that's kind of where I'm at right now.
Yeah, and we would love to, I mean, I want this to be countywide. I don't want just the folks in St. Paul to be the people that have input into this and that are part of planning this. So, I mean, the goals of this effort include building new connections and building different ways to work together. And so I think y'all need to be part of that conversation. But if Scott is not the right person, I'm not going to force you to be there, Scott.
No, and I can be there. I'm just suggesting that to raise the hand and step up and say, hey, let me be a committee leader here is going to be kind of tough.
Well, one of the things that I've really appreciated about this group, because it's not my group, I'm the trusted servant of the group, really, is that the goal is not to create long-term subcommittees. The goal is we had, a group of people meet to do one thing, to do one task, to develop a list of the community health assessments and sources of information about aging that are already out there. So that doesn't mean we're going to, again, force you to do anything, but just so you know, we're not looking for that kind of investment as someone step in and we already have 2 chairs of the committee, and that will be, well, I'm hoping, the plan is at this point, the whole team is to have, a short one session, or we're going to work on this for a couple sessions and not have it be huge, heavy lifting.
Question, would it make sense, since we're again trying to drive people to our website and cross-pollinate things. Would it make sense to have a link to updates to what's happening with this committee, Julia? Would that be beneficial if we had that on our class website?
It would be great when I get a website out.
Okay. Okay.
I think I've mentioned before, but more than that, I've been having conversations with our communications department about getting a healthy aging website up on our site. And that had to go the way of lots of things during COVID. So yes, it's a brilliant idea. And when I have that, I will share it.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Julia.
Yeah, thank you
And
all.
if you have a link that you think would be perfect or a PDF that you want us to post for the next, any of the meetings that are coming up, are we in agreement, board, that this can be added to our website?
Yes, from my perspective.
And I can bring it to the next networking meeting as well.
Thank you.
Julia, I think if you can provide me the meeting invitation and link, I can put it under our education and events page on the class website. And that way it doesn't require us to maintain it. It's something that those who are interested can go to the education and events page and follow the link to the external thing. So that's another step that we can provide without it creating a lot of heavy lifting for
Right.
class.
Right, and I have to talk to the committee about, I can provide my email. And I think that might be the best way to do that because I'd have to add them to the invitation. It's not a listserv. So yeah, I can provide the blurb and you can absolutely include my email address. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Julia, for the update. Anyone else with topics that we should be aware of or wish to put into play here with class?
And I think our White Bear liaison had to leave, and I think Katie's not here.
Correct.
So, any other updates anybody else is aware of?
The only thing I guess I'd like to announce here, and we've talked about it, is that on the 12th will be the next networking meeting, and would encourage everyone to be there for that. Kate and I will work on that invite. We've already got it out to the Care Options Network, so they're posting it. Is it next week, Kate?
It's actually the 11th, isn't it? Wednesday, the 11th?
I'm saying the wrong date.
Yep, August 11th, 8:30 to
Okay.
10.
Okay.
I'm testing all of you. Very good. You did a nice job. Sorry about that. Yeah, but we have it out at the Care Options Network. You know, now I've said the 12th since the beginning of the meeting. Was everyone afraid just to correct me? What's the deal?
We
It
didn't
took
get to the
until the end
second
of the meeting
page
to
yet,
correct me?
Scott. We had to get to the announcement section of the PDF. That's all.
Fair enough. Fair enough. And I think Kate, have we determined that we're going to do breakout sessions on that as well? Are we going to try that again, or?
Yes, we had very positive feedback from that last time. And we will have time maybe during our call on Friday to review what people had said in the survey responses from our last quarterly networking meeting. But it was very cathartic. People felt like it was a good chance to kind of express where they were at. And now that we are in this new Delta variant, I think it'll also be another chance for people to come together and discuss how that's been impacting the senior services community as a whole. And the impression that I got is people have appreciated being able to stay connected, even though we can't be together in person, through these separate, smaller conversations, and we get a good summary at the end from everybody instead of individual pop-offs here and there. So I think we're going to be good to do another breakout session.
So we'll build off what we had last time, and I think that will be good. So encourage everyone to make it for that.
Miss Jen, I just also wanted to say it's such a low pressure meeting. It's not, I can't be in trouble for anything at that meeting. You know, it's just people together doing the things and sharing stories about doing the things. So
That's good. Yep. Thank you, John. All right, we are a little bit after 2:30, and I mentioned I thought we would be able to wrap this up in about an hour, and I think we're pretty close to doing that. Anything that I've missed that needs to be mentioned? Let's see, our next board meeting. Where are we here?
October
Lost my notes.
4th.
There we go. Mark your calendars for that. We're rapidly coming to this. We're in the third quarter. Isn't that unbelievable? Year is going fast. So
Find
Well,
us a
thank you so much.
president-elect. Scott's
Pardon me?
not, I said, find us a president-elect. Scott's been carrying the weight for quite a while and I worry about him.
Well, it hasn't been that heavy, but it's just been kind of making certain all the I's are dotted, T's are crossed, and a little bit of this kind of keeping the balls juggling and hoping not to drop any of them. So thank you, everybody, for today. Cindy, let's talk offline about getting together
Okay.
on what we need to do,
Sounds good.
and we can set up a meeting. Everybody else, thank you so much. You take care, be safe, don't breathe too much bad air, and we will talk soon.
Bye, everybody.
Hi, thank you.